NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck yeah attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst your legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go! Back in the can for another edition of the Lunatic Fringe podcast with an old familiar face on the other side. Who the fuck are you, and what do you do?
All right, my name's Dan Kluge, and I am a jump pilot, chief pilot at Go Jump America outside of Oceanside.
Dan Kluge, yeah. I have been pronouncing your name wrong the entire time I've known you.
And how have you been pronouncing it? I've had a lot of variations.
Just Kluge, I never pronounced the E.
Yeah, Kluge. I think Kluge. It's Germanic, yeah.
All right, fair enough. So dude, I was so stoked when I saw your journey starting out as a jump pilot, because of course I didn't know you as a jump pilot. You know, when you and I were working together, you were jumping.
Yep, I was, and I was actually fresh jumping when I met you, as far as a tandem in a professional sense. Yeah.
Which is super awesome, because I had no idea until I saw you start posting and stuff that you really had a drive to start flying. So as I got to follow the journey a little bit more and find out not only were you flying, but you were pushing for it, it was really fucking cool.
Yeah. So and it didn't start out that way as well. You know, like I remember, like kind of started getting the bite when, I remember flying right seat with you when we did the Lake Forest demo, the kill demo, right?
Yes.
And when we flew back, I think we buzzed through downtown Chicago. Ooh. And I think that started to get the bite to start thinking about it. But it was still quite a few years before I remember that flight, because we had actually quite a few people on the plane, didn't we? I believe so. Okay, yeah, I think there was a few of us that just kind of went along to go for a ride. Yep.
Yeah, well, because it was you, I believe. One of the Manifest girls that I had a little something something with was on the plane, and a couple of other friends, and so I dropped it down over the water, over the lake, and then around the
Yep, yep.
city. Oh, that was a great flight.
Yeah, I think we were below the Ferris wheel when we
We
came
may
through
have
on.
been. We may have been. It was
Yeah,
completely legal. I was talking to ATC the whole time.
yeah, yeah.
The whole time.
Yeah.
So
But
this we'll actually get back to this, but I want to, as is my norm on the podcast, to start out with how you got started, not necessarily just in skydiving, but within anything that's a bit more on the extreme side.
yeah, so I guess I'm not really an extreme person, right? So I haven't, I out of my family, I think I'm the only one that ever had the desire to get like a motorcycle or something like that.
Mm,
I didn't have like, as far as being an extreme sport, maybe snowboarding or something, but that actually came after as well.
sure.
My growing up when I was younger, I didn't do the sports or nothing. I wasn't very coordinated, and but I remember I always had a desire for aviation or flight. When I was growing up, there was a little log cabin. We call it the log cabin airport, about a couple miles from my house growing up out in Wisconsin. And the guy that built it was an old World War II vet. So we had Piper Cubs, and he'd always just fly over the house, 500 feet, 1,000 feet over the house all the time. Every time we'd, hear an airplane, run outside, watching the airplanes go over. And then I think when I was about maybe like 10, I went, there was a demo in Eau Claire in Wisconsin, and I watched some skydivers jump in there, and I was over there talking with them, and I wanted to know everything about it, right? And I think then I knew I was going to jump at some point.
Sure.
And it turns out the people that were in the demo actually taught me how to jump at it. So I learned in Skydive with Soda, and I went out there, and I was hooked before I even jumped out of the airplane. Yeah. Nervous, apprehensive, but I knew it was something I wanted to do.
Sure.
Right. So,
It's funny. I hear that story from so many jumpers that say that they never considered themselves, an extreme sports kind of person, but they're into stuff like skydiving, which is still an extreme sport. But it's funny that people
right.
still we actively jump out of airplanes and don't consider ourselves extreme sports athletes, or fearless or any of that shit. We just happen to jump out of planes.
Right. And I think I wonder if that maybe that it's just the training involved, right? It's you start off pretty slow, like scuba diving. You just take it one step at a time, and you're not just throwing out there, right?
Sure.
It seems like you're just like, yeah, we're just throwing out the airplane. Well, I started static line, so I kind of was just tossed out. But like you take it in small chunks, and it's never
sure.
Extreme or radical,
Now,
until you're laying in bed at night, and then you think about what you do, and then you wake up like, holy shit.
Of course. Do you
So,
think it's not having that extreme sports mentality that I don't know, keeps us from thinking we're extreme sports because we're taking such a methodical view towards it? I mean, skydiving is an extreme once you know what's really involved with just everyday skydiving.
right. I mean, yeah, maybe it's just, or maybe we just don't think of it as extreme for us, because and maybe that's what makes people like free soloing stuff like that. They don't consider that extreme either, but
right.
That's why they're good at it. They don't have that fear, maybe. I'm not sure.
Well, I always used to say that I happily played on the reputation of an extreme sports athlete that you got with non-skydivers, because as a younger single guy, it got me laid.
Right.
He's an extreme sports athlete, when me and everyone I knew that in a lineup of skydivers, I was in the middle to the lower end of the extreme and much more towards the pussy scale.
Right. Yeah, but you tell anybody, you're like, I work at the drop zone, or work at it as a pilot, they don't have any idea what you do, but that's extreme for them. I'm like, oh yeah, I just feel the airplane or or whatever. But
For sure.
yeah.
Well, and we'll get to this because I know I'm sure you've taken ride-alongs now, and there's no greater way to realize what one person considers extreme and another doesn't by taking a ride-along. And you look at their faces and go, oh, that's right. Normal people don't do this.
That's right. Yep.
So you start out doing static line. You knew that was something that you wanted to do, but you also said the family was not into anything along those lines. So what did they think when you go tell mom and dad you want to start hooking yourself out of planes?
Yeah, so always supportive. My family's always been supportive of everything I've done, right? Although when they came up to watch, they're like, okay, we'll come up. I did my first free fall that week. I think I did like 6 jumps in the first 2 days I went.
Wow.
I signed up for the class, did the class, and then I landed and like right back off, right? And they came up the next day just to see, because there it's it's kind of a big event,
Sure.
somebody jumping out of an airplane, and they thought that was that. And then I kept going, and they've supported me 100% the entire way. I mean, my parents have both actually jumped.
Nice.
In their his 70s, late 70s. My dad, I think, was 80 when he jumped.
Nice.
I took him on a skydive, and that was one and done for my dad. My mom went a couple times, but they're happy that I'm doing what I love, I think.
Sure. Now, how old were you when you made your first jump?
20. I did 21, just about 22 years old.
Okay, nice.
So,
Nice.
Just coming up on 20 years.
Man, it goes fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I'm staring at 29 years in the sport coming up real soon, and I have no idea how to feel about that.
Yeah. It's funny because I did that first jump, and I mean that's been my life since the last 20 years.
Sure.
That and haven't really no hobbies outside of. I mean, hobbies obviously, but it's skydiving.
Sure.
In the industry, or going to drop zones, or traveling somewhere for the winter to work in the sport somewhere. So,
Was there a grown-up plan before skydiving? Like, was there something you were going to be when you grew up?
As a kid, I'd probably, I think of, like what I would do as when I was growing up. I think, I grew up on a farm really, so that was probably it. And I just kind of started falling into jobs, and then I did the skydiving, and then I actually, when I started skydiving, that wasn't even the plan, was to ever work in the industry. It was a hobby, and then I ended up in Chicago and came out and met, I think you were working in Hinckley.
Yep.
And Steph was there, and I talked to them, and I started talking to Steph. She was the manifest, and she calls Doug on the radio, and she's like, hey, your new guy's here, you need to hire him. And that was it. I think that was that was the end of the story. I've been doing it ever since. So.
I mean, that's a pretty common story in skydiving, though, isn't it? You didn't really have the plan, and all of a sudden, here I am, and you're actually doing it. Yep. Were you a tandem instructor when you showed up in Chicago, or were you thinking about it?
I was a tandem instructor. Very few jumps. Coming from the Cessna drops, and I think I had maybe 2 years of chunking them out in a club.
Sure. Now, was the motivation for that to just be able to take friends and family, that kind of thing, or were you doing it for work?
Really, it was just to pay back to the club. Like when I started there, I mean, jumps were I think they're $25. That was the gear rental, your slot, and instruction.
Holy shit!
So when it got back, you get your static line rating you're packing the weekend after you take your first static line class, and you're packing for the club. So everything was paying back to the club. So I think that was really the only reason for getting it at that time.
Well, it must have been quite a step up to go from a little Cessna club drop zone to drop zone, even though it was a smaller mid-sized drop zone running 2 turbines.
Right. Absolutely. I remember the first week in there, I slept hard when I got home on Sunday night. So.
Yeah, because I
remember that weekend very clearly. Yeah.
For a smaller drop zone, we flew a lot of loads.
And that was really busy then. I mean, we didn't have a huge staff, and I mean that was coming in like 2010, 10 or 11. I mean, we were really busy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that Pac 750 was turning every day of the week, and then the Twin Otter was cranking on the weekends, and a lot of times the Pac would be running with it.
Yep. I think I doubled my jump numbers quite quickly when I got there.
Happens
So,
fast.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about Chicago, I'm sure you felt the same thing, is because it was a smaller drop zone, it really had a family feel to it.
And that's really, I mean, when I moved to Chicago, I had, debated whether I was going to skydive in Chicago or there. And I really just went out to Hinckley just for that reason. Coming from a small Cessna drop zone, I kind of wanted that more of a club vibe, right?
Sure.
So that was kind of the draw when I went there, and honestly, just to check it out. And then,
I remember when I went out
right
there,
away. So.
I had we talked pre-podcast, and I got hired on by Doug, the owner of CSC, literally as the ink on my multi-engine rating was drying.
Okay, wow.
Oh yeah, I had a week before I had to do my check ride on my multi-engine ride, and he had agreed to hire me because I had a couple thousand hours flying the Pac. And he told me, look, if you've got this much experience in a turbine, I can teach you how to fly an Otter with no multi-engine time, quicker than I can teach a multi-engine Twin Otter pilot how to fly jumpers if they don't know how.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, you sold me. But I'll tell you what, that made my multi-engine check ride the most difficult ride I did, because so much hinged on it.
Right.
Dude, I practically broke down at the end of that. The instructor walks away, and I've passed, and I'll just chalk it and come on inside. And I just laid in the seat for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. That's how I feel after every check ride.
Yeah, right. I hate check rides. I fucking hate them. But yeah, I remember I got that gig, and I drove all the way across the country from Nevada out there, and we were in Hinckley at the time, and the corn was just starting to get kind of high. And I remember, I think I drove past the entrance to the drop zone twice because it was in a cornfield.
Camp here. Right,
yes, exactly. I'm like, fuck, the GPS must be wrong. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I think I saw the tail of the Otter, and I went, or the tail of the Pac, one of the two. And I'm like, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
Like, this is literally in the corn. But of course, again, it turned out to be an incredibly busy, really fun drop zone.
Yeah. The people there, I mean, that's, everybody that was working there, you had the Petrowskis and you and Jackson, and it was definitely a fun time.
It really was. Well, and everybody got to know everybody really well, and everybody had their positive traits and their negative traits, but we also knew how to navigate everybody's traits. So everybody knew when I was in a shit mood. I knew when other people were in shit moods. We kind of all just knew how to work around it. We ended up having a great time.
Yeah.
Did you get to do any of the lake house trips that they would do?
I didn't. I think I was there. I think I got there too late in the season when you guys did the one in Hinckley, and then I don't think they've been to Lake House since Hinckley.
Wow. So I may have been one of the last ones. That's why I tore my fucking bicep off, dude, getting dragged behind a boat.
Yep.
Skydivers
never been the same since.
Yeah, skydivers should not do stupid shit on the ground because it's dangerous.
Right.
So you were chucking drogues, and were you doing video and AFF as well?
The video and AFF came quite a bit later, so I was just chucking drogues. But then, once we started out in Rochelle, I started picking up the camera. And then I put off doing the AFF for quite some times. I've never done an AFF jump, and it was all static line, so it seemed fairly foreign to me. But I decided to go through the course, and quite honestly, flying 4-way and stuff like that all the time, it wasn't as challenging as I thought it was going to be.
Sure. So, but it's fun flying,
not
necessarily
the jumps. I just my first AFF. During the course was the first time I've ever done any type of AFF jump, and then here I am as an reserve side or whatever, as an instructor, I'm like, I don't even know how this is supposed to work.
Yeah.
I've never seen one. So
Well, and they design those courses to be pretty stressful because the real AFF courses with students can be incredibly stressful. So it's already geared to fuck with your head.
Yeah, it was stressful. Definitely some. It
Oh
was
man.
definitely a great week. Yeah.
I did the same thing to myself when I got my AFF course. I was jumping in Las Vegas and I got hired to work at Skydive Cross Keys, which at the time was by far the busiest drop zone in the States. It was, I mean, cranking out jumps, but I didn't have my AFF rating and the job hinged on my having an AFF rating. So I literally sold my house, bought a truck with a camper and drove from Nevada, stopped in Eloy to do my AFF course. And if I didn't pass, I could just turn around and go back because I didn't have a job. And I got a course director that some of the people listening will know by the name of Billy Rhodes. And Billy Rhodes was a good old country boy, this massive guy and very congenial and very, Southern hospitality. And I meet him and I shake his hand, tell him it's really nice to meet him. And he says, you weren't in my pre-course, were you? And I'm like, no, I was way too busy trying to pack everything up and get ready. And he just went, huh. And nobody's ever passed without doing my pre-course, but it's nice to meet you. We'll see you tomorrow. And walked away. And I'm like, oh, fuck, this is how it starts. It was hardcore. Yeah, I passed, but it was hardcore.
And the pre-course is great because I think that's where I think that's where you develop your skills. It's not so much the checkout's a checkout, but the course is where you learn what you're supposed to be doing. And that's really the exam there. I feel,
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think he kind of he grudgingly passed me because I know I did a good job on the course, but man, I was a nervous wreck for that entire thing. Yeah. I really was. So now you have the opportunity too, because obviously jumping in Chicago, it's a seasonal drop zone. It gets pretty fucking nasty in Chicago. So you started traveling for jumping as well, didn't you?
So yeah, I believe I did just stayed in Chicago for a winter, and then I went to New Zealand as well. So I know you went to what was it, Bay of Islands?
Yeah, I was in Paihia with Ballistic Blondes. Yep. Yeah, with Kelly Cullen and the crew.
Davey, yeah. So I went there for a season, and then I ended up in Queenstown at End Zone for 2 years, and then I think I went back a couple years later for a fourth season.
I heard. Did I hear correctly that End Zone closed down?
I don't think they did. No, they got bought out.
Did they get bought out? Okay, maybe that was it. Because I knew
they're still there. They're still operating.
Awesome. Because I knew there were a lot of changes going on, but that was like the crazy busy premier drop zone, right?
Yeah, it was 2 caravans going, maybe 300 and some tandems a day.
Jesus, that's big numbers.
During the Christmas season, it was extremely busy.
So to go there, to go to New Zealand, I'm sure you had the same experience that I did. The first time I actually left the country outside of Canada and Mexico was to go to Fiji. Yep. I went to Fiji, and then New Zealand was a bunch of years later. But what an experience, right? That we decided one day to jump out of planes, and now we're halfway around the world getting paid to do it.
Exactly. And you're not on, you're on like an extended vacation. What better way to learn, a culture or an environment by being there for 5 or 6 months, Well,
and what a bunch of sweethearts, right?
Yeah. The hospitality is amazing. Yeah.
Well, you did the Bay of Islands for one season?
One season and then down to Queenstown. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So did you get to meet one of my favorite people ever from the Bay of Islands in Paihia was Paitangi, the Maori tattoo artist?
Yep. Heard her sing a few times, and they had like an open mic. Definitely got to sing a few times there. So
she was so spectacular. I took both her kids on skydives, and as gifts, I got tattoos from her because, of course, she does amazing Maori tattoos.
Yeah, and you did the bone work, right?
Yes.
Or did you have a regular tattooer?
No. She used the gun on me. I'm admittedly too much of a pussy to get the bone. And I'm covered in tattoos, and I can't do it.
Yeah.
But that was one of the coolest things ever and that was the real epiphany for me as I was sitting in the Bay of Islands in her studio, which is on the Maori tribal grounds, on the most beautiful part of that beach. And her studio is the garage. Her garage door is open. I'm in the chair as she's working on my back, looking out at the Bay of Islands, and no shit, there's fucking dolphins jumping in the water. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how does this happen? This is incredible.
Just so amazing. Beautiful there.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much where we landed, I think, when we did tandems there as well.
Yeah, man, right on the beach.
Yeah.
And I know they don't there anymore. I think Ballistic Blondes ended up moving full-time to Whangarei, and I think they had one other beach that they were jumping, but the Bay of Islands put the quash on that.
Yeah.
But we were there.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah. What an adventure. Yeah.
So all the jumping and everything, at what point do you start to really get the itch and think, I'm going to fly? And why did you decide you wanted to fly?
Well, as far as like learning to fly, it was kind of by accident. So I kind of like, it was kind of in the back of my head, like, oh, that'd be kind of cool to learn, fly. But I actually went, a friend of mine that was working, Orion, was working, flying for Doug at CSC, and he had to flew to Michigan. He had a little airplane, and his family runs like concessions at like big festivals and stuff like that. And so he wanted to fly over and see his brother, and he's like, hey, you want to come along? We'll go over there and spend the night and come back in the morning for work. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. And he's like, so I ended up in the left seat, hands me the checklist, and flew over there, flew straight across Lake Michigan.
Oh.
In a little airplane, flew over there, found a little airport, landed, spent the night, came back the next day and landed, and he hands me a logbook with my hours in there, and he's like, well, when do you want to start your next flying, right? I'm like, well, how about tomorrow? So I started getting into it. It was, I think I flew quite a bit the rest of that summer, and then he left, so I didn't have really, I kind of put it off for a year. And then I moved out to Oceanside to start working for Go Jump out there. And there was a few people, one of my friends, Starkey, was always studying for the written exam. And I was looking at that, I'm like, okay, I got the bug. So I went right out, found a school and finished it up within a few months at that point. Oh, that's
fantastic.
And at that point, I wasn't really thinking about doing it as, kind of like when I started skydiving, I wasn't really thinking about becoming a skydiving pilot.
Sure.
I mean, that didn't come up until much later. I thought, if I can get if I could solo, that'd be cool. That would be quite the accomplishment. Right.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, I soloed, get the private pilot, that'd be pretty cool to have.
Sure.
Like who does that, And I really didn't have the confidence, I didn't really have the, it was very intimidating to fly at that point. Once I got my private, I decided I'd start doing the instrument rating right away.
Yeah.
To develop more skills. And by the time I got about halfway through that, I was like, I feel like I could do, I actually feel like I can do this. Right?
Sure.
And then that started to become an idea to start to press and hit it really hard at that point.
Nice. That's really similar.
Yeah.
It's really similar to the way that I did things, because I had not intended to start flying again either. I started when I was 16, had 36 hours in a 152, and then as 16-year-olds are wont to do, I was a complete fucking moron, and I didn't finish. So cut to 2004, and I'm in Cross Keys, and the guy that owned the rigging loft there, a guy by the name of Mark Cruzy, knew that I had flown, and Cruzy took me on a flight to go over to a little airport called the Flying W, and he let me fly a little bit. And then next thing you know, he shoves me in the left seat with a guy by the name of Paul Patterson, who was a flight instructor. And next thing you know, I have my private pilot's license. And I was flying rigs back and forth between Cross Keys and Sussex, building up hours, and I wasn't going to do anything more with it. but then I got really fucking scared by clouds dropping on
Oh
top of
yeah,
me.
I think you've told me this story a few times.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, man, I barely made it back into Cross Keys without flying into weather, and I was terrified. And I had to decide, all right, if I'm going to be a pilot, I got to be a pilot that can handle this kind of stuff. So I
Hmm.
went straight into my instrument rating, and it was kind of just like you. I wanted to fly, I just didn't want to get killed doing it. I didn't
Right.
want to pull a JFK Jr. and fly myself into the water. So that's pretty much the same thing with me. But now, of course, once you're flying in our sport, it's a hey, Dan's got his license.
Yeah, everybody wants to get, or you get your CFI, and then everybody wants to like, oh, let's go fly over here, so which is great. I love, like to take people up and let them, give them the controls and have experience it,
Yeah.
So
I used to love doing that in the Twin Otter. You'd get the observers, especially in CSC. We take observers all the time, and then even in
mhm.
Dubai, I got to take observers a lot. And I would always give the observers the controls, because they're gonna have to work real
Yeah,
hard to do something that's gonna scare me.
yeah,
And
and you let go of it, let go of everything anyway, right?
yeah, of
So
course, absolutely. But it was always a lot of fun, and you see the hook that you can put into people just by letting them hold the controls. They don't even know you're steering the plane using the rudders, but they're having a blast holding that yoke, and it's so cool to watch that.
yeah, and who knows, maybe how many of those come back to end up being pilots or jumpers.
Yeah,
You never
man.
know what like when I watched that demo, like who knew that I would be hooked at that point, right? So you never know in your life and who you meet is gonna change their trajectory,
Sure.
so kind of cool.
It's funny too, because and I'm sure you've had this in your flying too. There's always pivotal moments, especially once you've started flying on your own and you're building up hours and you're just in the cockpit on your own doing whatever you've got to do. But I think, especially being skydivers, we learn to take snapshots of appreciation along the way, and
Sure.
kind of take stock in what we're doing. And I can't even count how many times that I've stopped to look out the window and go, "Oh my God, I'm doing this." And
Yeah.
the first real big one working in the sport for me, well, there were two real big ones. The first time I ever threw the Pac 750 into beta and the prop made that wow sound, I'm like, "Fuck, I
Yeah.
did that."
Yeah. So one of
Super.
the most cool sounds in the world.
Oh yeah, super cool because I made that sound. But the other one was the first time I dropped that kilt demo in Chicago, and I was by myself this time, and I'd only been flying for a couple of months in the Otter, and I was signed off pretty quickly because apparently I wasn't a complete ass clown flying it, and it
Right.
dawned on me about halfway back to Hinckley that I'm by myself in a Twin Otter, just alone flying this
Right.
thing going, holy
Right.
shit, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite crazy when you fly doing a cross country or something. You have the time to reflect, and it's like, this I never thought nobody gets to do this shit,
No,
like
no,
and it's not hard. It just takes a lot of work to get there, right?
that's the
It's
thing,
and
right? Is flying a plane is very mechanical. It's well, flying a plane is easy until shit goes wrong. And then it gets
correct.
interesting.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, mechanically flying a plane is like driving a cab with a couple of extra directions. It's all the shit that goes on the ground and the paperwork and the setting up. But in that, it's kind of like skydiving.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, the thing about airplanes, it's not like a car where you just jump in and drive it, right? Like there's so much you have to have such an understanding of the systems and how everything, how to handle it in an emergency, right? And you just can't pull off the side of the road and fix it.
Sure.
So just learning all the systems and not coming from a mechanical background, sometimes it can be quite intimidating as well, right? Like, and the airspace and everything. That was probably the hardest part, like thinking about, all, you see the far aim and you're like, oh, there's no way I'm going to do this. I'm not going to, I'm
Sure.
not going to start flying. But then, but you take it in chunks, you start off, like your private pilots, it's like, it's a license to learn, like,
Yeah.
it's like getting signed off to solo in AFF, you're not finished learning it by
No,
means,
no. Are you kidding me?
it's just
I'm basically retired and I'm not done learning.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's
Every day.
absolutely. Well, it was kind of funny because especially back then when I got started, Doug was the one that trained me in the Otter, and as you know, the Otter is the largest aircraft that you can fly without a type rating. So I didn't have to have a type rating; I just had to have a multi-engine, which meant Doug could teach me how to fly it. And he taught me how, and he taught me well in that environment. But then when I left skydiving briefly to give a shot at the airlines, it was in Twin Otters. And I remember messaging Doug after the fact because they had sent me to flight safety to go through the sim, and I went through all their training courses. And I think I sent him a message along the lines of, "Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't kill everybody and blow up the plane. I knew nothing."
Yeah. 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 And that's something that like Doug was a great teacher as well.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, as far as flying jumper, I mean, he's been doing it for so long. But it was one of the things that we're really working on is making sure people have a really good understanding of the aircraft, the firewall forward stuff, the systems and how to handle that, right? As far as flying jumpers, I mean, I'm glad that I learned with Doug as far as just being consistent, flying all the numbers. It was very helpful in the skydiving career for sure.
Oh yeah, well, and I give him a lot of credit too. I give him credit again for putting me in a Twin Otter when, quite frankly, very few, if any, other DZOs would have.
Right.
But also not just giving me the training, but allowing me the freedom to then go continue to learn on my own. Because I'm sure just as well as I do, and a lot of jump pilots do, you learn more your first 10 loads after the guy that checked you out gets out of the plane than you did in the 100 hours before.
Yep.
I never forget how hard I would beat myself up making these piddling little mistakes that he would slap my hand for when he was there. And if I did it when I was on my own, I was heartbroken that I didn't do it perfect.
Yeah. He's always sitting there tapping you tipped her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And he's super OCD, which is great. That's followed me through. So
yeah, it really was. I'll never forget one of the jumpers he was talking to. Doug was in the back jumping, and he had a set altitude that he wanted the red light turned on. It wasn't a time; it was an altitude he wanted it set on.
Yeah.
And apparently, he leaned over to this jumper and he went, "Watch this!" And he's looking at the altitude, and as soon as they hit the altitude, he pointed at the light, and the red light came on, and he's like, "I taught him that."
Yeah, 12,000 feet. Yeah, it's
yeah,
always
man.
The 2 minute. Was the 2 minute one was always that. It doesn't matter if you're 5 minutes off.
Yeah, because he beat that into me. Although that bit me in the ass because when I briefly got to fly in Mexico, it was Fritz from the Flyboys came up to me on a shutdown and went, "Why the fuck is the red light on like 5 minutes out?" And I'm like, "Old habits, man."
Yeah.
I'll try and make it 2 minutes. I promise.
Yeah,
I promise. Yeah. Well, and you and I have, again, something very similar in that CSC was our first drop zone that was a real thumper. I mean, I flew for Skydance in the PAC 750, but you got your first chance in the Caravan out there as well.
Yep. I first flew in the Caravan and probably, I think I had about 500 hours when Doug brought me on.
Nice.
Over there, through training and stuff, which it's very hard to do with insurance now.
Sure.
To get into that kind of position with under 1,000 hours,
Yeah.
Definitely when I got the material to start reading on my drive over, I was like, man, I feel like I'm over my head for sure, yep. And that month of training was very stressful every day.
Oh, yeah.
I'd get out of the plane, and even if it was 5 loads, I'd be so tired and just pass right out.
Oh yeah. I had a guy that I trained in the Twin Otter out in Dubai, and he at the time it was his first multi-engine as well. He'd gotten signed off on the Otter, but the chief pilot wanted him to get 200 hours with a co-captain before he'd let him fly on his own. Mm-hmm. And this particular pilot preferred flying with me over the other staff pilots, so I spent the majority of that 200 hours sitting in the right seat for him. And he would beat himself up making little mistakes, or we had very tight airspace that we had to fly in, and if you flew out mm-hmm. of the box, it was kind of a big deal. And so he just beat the shit out of himself, and he was really getting down on himself. And on a shutdown, I'm like, the next 5 loads, I'm going to sit in the left seat. You're going to do nothing but sit there with a pen and paper and mark down everything I fuck up. And at the end of it, he had a decent list, because you know how it is.
Sure.
There's little
Yeah.
mistakes everywhere, every load. The idea
Yep,
is to try and get
absolutely.
better. And we shut down, and I'm like, how'd he do? And he's like, I feel much better about myself. And I'm like, that's the point, man. It's not about
Yes.
getting it perfect. It's about trying.
It's about and understanding the mistake and trying to fix it on the next one, right?
Yes.
You know, your
Yes.
altitude for your turns, you know, you're not going to have the perfect one every time, but it's to realize what you did wrong on that one and fix it on the next jump.
Sure.
You know?
Well, and I'm sure you got the same lessons that I did flying with Doug, is that if the passengers know you're in a turn, you're turning too fucking hard.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yep. Yeah.
you get
No
to
more than
have
15-degree bank.
fun
Yep.
on the way down, but on the way up, man, they shouldn't know that anything's happening. It should be as mellow as can be.
Yeah, and you know, and being consistent with for the jumpers, right? The yellow light comes, or the red light comes on at the same time every time. You know,
Yep.
like you fly, you know, you fly out, you run your jumper on into all you have to do is look out the window and you know, okay, like we're gonna be getting out soon, or you know, like you know where you're at, you know what's gonna happen, and you're predictable.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Which is the best thing you can possibly do. The other thing that that Doug did that I had never seen before was he had a great PA system in the Twin Otter. So I was able to call distances and ground speeds, which for a heads up instructor is gold. You know, now there's no rush to the door. We're barely moving across the ground. We can crawl there, or holy shit, we're moving. Let's get to the door. You know, it was great, and it made everything more efficient. And as you know, especially at a drop zone where you're getting paid by the load, get the fuck out of the plane, because I got to make more money down
there. right. Yeah, that comm is nice in the day, especially when you're trying to communicate something. You know, not even just the speeds and stuff, but like getting the communication from the jumper sitting next to you to the back of the plane is it doesn't happen, right?
No, the PA system made it great, and unfortunately, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but when you're sitting in the left seat and you're trying to yell communications to the back, people think you're being an asshole, because the only way you can do it is to yell at the top of your lungs.
Across.
Right. I don't know, and I am an asshole, but I don't know how many times people are like, Dean's being a prick, and I wasn't. I was just trying to get a message back there.
The veins are going in your neck as you're turning around, like,
yeah. But hey, it is what it is. You know, I mean, that's part of the sport, and that's what the beers get open for, and people sit around and chit chat afterwards and go, dude, I wasn't trying to be a dick. This was what was going on.
Yeah. Nobody's listening to me because they can't hear me. So
yeah. So all of this by happenstance, skydiving happens, flying happens, and then again stepping it up, and now chief pilot. That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. I think it was in the works before I even started flying. I'm not sure, but you know, just having, you know, working in Oceanside, you know, none of our pilots were jumpers. So just having somebody that's familiar with both sides in the cockpit was crucial. So you can make changes, you know, and you can manage it from the ground or from the sky, right? You know,
sure.
If things aren't being done.
I'll tell you what, my hat's off to successful jump pilots that aren't jumpers, because I've always been of the firm opinion that by far the best jump pilots are jumpers. But I've seen incredibly talented jump pilots that aren't, and I don't know how they do it without knowing.
Yeah. I trained a guy this summer, I think the beginning of the summer, no jump pilot experience, about 1,000 hours, but he's a super heads up guy, right? Got him the material. He came, you know, was super prepared. I mean, just a great student, right? You know, like no turbine experience. Knew, like, was on me about, you know, like, okay, I've got this, and really asked me questions. I'm like, this is great, you know, okay, let's start flying now. And took him up on the first one. I was in the left seat. I took off and got up, you know, like 1,000 feet. I'm like, okay, well, just take the controls and see how you feel. And I never touched the stick after that.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, he put it up, you know, like explained what I wanted, and he he just did what he needed to do. And I was just like, if everybody could be like that, it would be amazing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But
Unfortunately, it's
unfortunately
one out of every 20 or 30 that come out can grab onto it like that. I mean, I've had some interesting attempts from potential jump pilots that they just can't get, especially on jump run and slowing it down. And they're so intimidated by getting slow and ass loaded that they just let the nerves and all the proper aviation training that they should be paying attention to overloads them.
Yeah. They start looking at one thing. Yeah. They get fixated on one thing and forget how to, they couldn't do a commercial check right at that point,
Yeah, for sure. So now what's the long road look like for you? I mean, obviously, if you're a chief pilot with a good operation, we're now living in a time where being a jump pilot potentially is a proper career. Never used to be, but now it is. So is it stick with that, or do you have daydreams of corporate or airline someday?
No, never. Yeah. But nice. I mean, I didn't think I was going to be a jump pilot either. So, so who knows? So I'm happy where I'm at. I worked hard to get to here, and I want to enjoy it for now.
Well, and I'll tell you what, it's an absolutely amazing career. I finally stepped down just for a change of scenery because I'd been doing it for so long, and I'd had a couple of surgeries on my neck. So sitting for long days in the cockpit just wasn't comfortable anymore. And I hit my milestone of rolling through 10,000 hours in the Otter and went, something, I can sit on the ground for a while. But you never know, dude. If you ever see an application with the fucking pilot on top of it, that's me looking for summer work.
That's right. You know where to call. You know who to call, Dean.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
well, I
don't know if you want to leave where you're at, but
I'd come for a summer. Although, you're gonna have a tough time prying me out of Finland for right now because it's. I gotta say, there's something to be said for retirement.
Yeah, we'll have to get you checked out in the caravan now. There's not very many places to go to fly an Otter anymore.
I would have to. Well, I've actually probably got 800, maybe 1,000 hours in the caravan.
Okay,
we can do the interview right now. I've got a little.
Yeah, I mean, when I flew with you in Chicago, I didn't realize you were freshly minted in the Otter. So I think that speaks for itself right there.
Yeah, freshly minted to the point where Carolyn, Doug's wife, actually was like, just get out of the plane. He's going to have to do this at some point. And he's like, all right, don't fuck it up. And that first load, he had offered me the gig to go fly the Otter in Mexico, contingent on everything going well. And I was like, don't offer me that yet. Let's make sure that first off, I can fly this plane. And then let's make sure I like it. And I'm not even kidding. I was on the descent from my very first solo load. And I'm like, hey, Manifest, is Doug there? Doug's like, yeah, what's up? I'm like, I'm going to Mexico.
Nice.
Fuck yes, man. This is amazing because it was so much fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, it's been a thrill watching the progression and especially, again, starting from a newer jumper to, I didn't even know that the idea for flying was planted on that flight that you did with me. So that's super cool. Like, I like that a lot. And then to see where you are now is fucking fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been an adventure for sure.
It's not over yet.
Unplanned adventure, but an adventure nonetheless.
Yeah. So now, what does the family think about the fact that you're in the plane now instead of jumping out? Are they happier about that?
I think so. Yeah, I think they're happier that I'm not jumping as much.
Just don't tell them a lot more shit can go wrong with the plane.
Yeah, exactly. And I've taken them both up for rides. They love it. They're honestly like they're just excited that I'm doing something that makes me happy and that I'm
that's the greatest part about it, right? I mean, I'm sure you're the same as me. How many offices do people work at where every day at one point they need to take out their phone to take a picture?
Right.
Because
exactly.
I've got about 2,000 photographs of the Palm Jumeirah or the desert or all the flights that I've all over the place because it was just so fucking gorgeous.
Yeah. And honestly, whenever I got 16,000 jumps and how many hours now in the caravan, it's I don't tire of looking out the window.
No.
At all. Every single jump, just staring out the window and, it might be the same scenery, but it's just,
Doesn't
There's
matter.
just something about it, right? Like,
Doesn't matter. Well, and for any jumpers listening that are at a drop zone where you have the opportunity to sit in the right seat with your pilot, and you think that the pilots are up there just bored and hating life, you haven't ridden down in the plane with them yet. So
right.
go take a right seat ride, because even a normal skydiving descent is not what you're used to in an airplane, and it's a lot of fun. And I would try and explain to people that think, oh my God, you guys are just beating the hell out of the plane. And you go, no, I'm by the numbers all the way down. This is exactly what this plane is rated to do. It's just that you're used to coming in a 737, and when the wing dips more than 10 degrees, you shit your pants.
Yeah. Your approach, your approach is a little bit closer and higher for sure.
So for whoever wants to come jump at your drop zone, or they want to reach out to you because they're thinking maybe they want to start flying, and they want to know how you went about it. They want to know if they're too young or too old or all that. How do people track you down? How do they get a hold of you?
Well, I'm on Instagram as Kluge, but if you really want to find me on Facebook, it's Daniel Kluge. You'll have to do the spelling for him on the
all right,
on the link. Kluge, Kluge. I'm sure it'll be one of the top connections because everybody's connected as skydivers here.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you'll be able to find me
for sure. And you're at Go Jump.
Go Jump. I'm working out of Oceanside, but you can find me in Hawaii or in Vegas. So we have three locations right now. So
brutal.
I'm currently in Hawaii now. So
fucking brutal life you got, Dan.
It's tough. I showed you the picture the other day. I sent you the picture the other day, and it's just gorgeous.
Yeah, you can't beat it, man.
Actually, we brought fun jumping back here now, so
awesome.
You can come back and fun jump at Go Jump in Hawaii.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, and I know, I think the Oceanside drop zone first got my attention because I believe you guys were originally flying my Pac 750 out of Skydance, the blue, red, and yellow one.
I believe so. I think they
rented that for the.
May still have that one.
Yeah, I think for at least for the first couple of years.
Dogs for a while as well. The old CSC plane was there for a while.
Really?
So,
yeah, it's funny. Those planes make the rounds. So yeah, I see the pictures all the time. But that blue, yellow, and red one was my first turbine. So that's my first love.
Awesome.
Yeah. Dan,
that's cool.
This has been fantastic, man.
It's been too long, Dean.
It's been a long damn time. We're going to make sure that it doesn't happen quite so long again. And don't be surprised. You might have me hitting you up for a summertime contract sometime.
You know how to find me.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you too, Dean. See you later.
See ya. Dan. That was perfect. That was perfect. No. That was absolutely fantastic. That's exactly what I want, is just a chit chat. No bullshit, no drama, just a lot of fun. And especially for the younger jumpers that listen, it's kind of a window into the people that have been doing it for a while, somebody that's thinking about flying. It's a nice little boost for them.
Yeah, it is cool that, like I say, it is weird. Like all of a sudden you don't know what impression you have on people. It's so crazy. You know, like you I'm like, you have no idea sometimes until, 10 years later, like we have a jumper out at CSC now, and he saw me jump into the demo in one of the 4th of July demos or something. Came out, and he came out. I jumped with him as a tandem, and now he's like one of the top tandem guys out in Rochelle, right? Like it's just, you don't realize the
I know it. Well, and it's, especially now as we get more and more years in the sport and, go from being the average jumper to the elder statesman, because we've been doing it for a while, and you'll have this experience. You may have already had this experience as well, where people only know you as the pilot. So they'll ask you, well, do you jump? And you just kind of go, yeah,
not anymore. No.
Every once in a while. I had somebody do that in Dubai. They were like, well, you don't jump, do you? And I'm like, I've done a few. And then I walk away, and my buddy's like, he's got like 13,000 jumps.
Yeah.
Which I love. I love that you just kind of take on the next chapter and you do your thing, which is so much fun.
Yeah. And I should have said that, mentioned that in there, but yeah, if you're thinking about doing it, you gotta, like, skydiving is not forever, for your body, like if you would have never made it in the sport, still doing tandems, like fucking Jackson. I mean, that guy's a machine. So,
Dude,
but
well, he's beat up too, and I'll tell you what, I love Jackson to death, but part of me feels bad for him. You know, he had the caravan crash in Dubai.
yeah, and that
and-
was about the time I was over there because I had
Yeah.
stopped in and then went to Jordan, and then that happened while I was in Jordan. I think.
Yeah, dude, that was fucking intense. And so he refused to fly the single engines after that. And nobody blamed him because quite frankly, it was his flying and a jump master in the back are the only reason that anybody lived.
Yeah.
Otherwise they were all dead because it was horrible. But he flew for a while longer, but you could see that the passion just was gone, and Dubai kind of sucked it out of you anyway. But to see him still chucking drogues, I want to walk up and hug him and go, oh, dude. Like, have you ever seen that old movie, Alfie?
Alfie? No, I don't think I have. Honestly,
Rent the movie Alfie. I can't remember the guy that it stars, but it was like in, I don't know, 1990 something. It's Jacko through and through. That's who it fucking is. You'll die laughing through the whole thing.
Yeah.
That being said, the guy still has perfect hair and a six pack, so fuck him.
Yeah.
Like I sent him a message the other day. I'm like, I went and got a haircut, if that's what you can call it, that, and all I could think was fuck Jackson, and I sent him that as a message.
Yeah, well, I've got the hair. I think I'll still have the hair. Right? I don't have the six pack anymore either. So
I managed to still keep the six.
I think the only reson I had the six pack is because I was living with Jackson. So there's that.
That would fucking do it. That would absolutely do it. Yeah, I'll tell you, after all the jumping and stuff, the 2 surgeries that I had on my neck, and now chronic shoulder problems, you know, drogue arm shoulder problems and stuff, all of it is starting to pile up a little bit, and I'm having to really work to take care of myself. And getting out of the cockpit for me was kind of important, because last load of the day, literally climbing down out of the Otter was killing me. And I'm like, I can't be doing this anymore. I can't be pulling 8 hours in the cockpit anymore.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah, that's what I was feeling with jumping so often, right? Like,
yeah, man.
You know, I was getting older. Like, the injuries started happening too quickly. You know, like I went how many years without no pull muscles, no nothing, and then all of a sudden it's like this is happening. My last day working, I had a bad opening and fucked up my shoulder, right? And I think that's the tandem career ender. You know, like on my last day of work before I went to fly for the season, you know, back in Chicago.
Yep.
And I think I'm done, you know. Like,
yeah, man. I mean, doing those abbreviated drogue throws because you can't fucking throw your arm up anymore to get a good drogue throw. Yeah, it's eventually it just becomes not worth it anymore.
Yeah,
it really isn't. In all seriousness, I don't plan on it, but it depends on work out this way. I may be looking for summertime contracts down the road. What's your guys' setup for stuff like that?
So really, we don't do much of it because everything's all year round. So
you guys have got a full crew.
Like even in Oceanside, we're all employees there. So we have one guy, Mike Johnson. He's like you might know him, Mike Johnson. He's an old school skydiver.
I may know the face. I don't know the name.
But he was out in Davis flying. I think he worked at the school in Davis, but he comes out and flies. So he's about the only contractor we have come out and fly.
Okay.
And then everything else is like we have 2 guys in Vegas. It's going good. So and everything's year round, right? So we have, you know, everything's filled up for the summer here. So
okay. Well, down the road, if you find yourself in a bind, the only thing I've discovered about Finland is not speaking Finnish means local work is impossible. And I found out that to do the crossover to get my EASA means doing the full course.
Everything again. Yeah.
14 exams, all the check rides. And I told the wife, I'm like, fuck that. I will go fly contract work in the States for 3-4 months here and there. So
it may. So we might. So here in Hawaii, we might start doing. I think we're going to get another caravan. And
nice.
Start doing military stuff out here.
Nice.
So that it might change things down the line. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I mean. If you need a fill-in guy or if something like that comes up, I would be down for anything up to a 6-month contract. So if shit comes up, just keep me in mind.
Doug's looking for somebody to go to the Bahamas.
Yeah, no. Well, I've mended fences with Doug's, but I'm not gonna work for him again.
Yeah. That's honestly, that's how when I left, it was time to go, right? Like,
Yeah.
I went to the side. It was time to, well, it was time to go somewhere that was busy and that I can make money.
Well, that was the thing, right?
Right.
That was when Woody was still there, and Doug was going through a lot of changes and spending crazy money, and he was kind of pinching pennies in what I thought were all the wrong places, including
As
his,
he does, always.
yeah. You know, and it came to a head when I finally sat down and went, dude, I'm not making a living wage, and I've been busting my ass for 4 years. I can't do this anymore. I'm like, I'm washing your planes every week, both of your planes every week, and waxing them for free, and you're not paying me for loads where they don't get out. I'm like, that was the only
and he pay you a minimum only if you flew, right? So
well, that was the biggest argument we had, was when I found out after the fact that I had 2 single engine landings with him. One of them because they put the wrong fucking PCU on one of the engines, for fuck's sake.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So I landed. Yeah. Summertime, full load, hot conditions in DeKalb, landing fucking with everybody on board because I lost it at like 300 feet as a new autopilot. And then cut to 2.5 years later, I find out that he didn't pay me for those loads because nobody got out. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
You made your salary for the year on that load, right?
Yes, that was my thing. Is I'm like, how can you fucking sleep at night knowing you didn't pay me when I landed your plane single engine with all on board on that little field? But whatever, bygones are bygones, man. Like I said, I hope he does amazingly well, but I'll never work for the guy.
Yeah, so Mike's doing it good here. He's paying people well.
Good. Well, that's the only way, man. I mean, you pay people well and you get them to stay there. You know, I mean, that's why I did 10 years in Dubai. They paid me insanely well. And although it was up and down and rocky, and it's a bit of a difficult
living conditions are
the vibe is very difficult to live through, because you're always one wrong comment away from being thrown out. But for what they were paying me, it was worth putting up with it, especially as the assistant chief pilot for 10 fucking years. So it was good. Awesome. So this is going to come out in 3 weeks. Comes out on Mondays. So I think you'll be coming out on the 18th. I will do a little write-up of the episode, and then I'll make sure prior to that you've got a link. I don't think we talked about anything over the line, but if you think of anything you want taken out, let me know.
Perfect.
Otherwise, dude, let's keep in touch, man. It's really cool hearing what you got going on, and I'm super glad that you're so successful in what's happening.
Thank you. Yeah, you as well. It's good catching up for sure.
Yeah, you too.
I was we didn't touch the political shit on there, so we don't have to worry about pissing too many people off.
Exactly. I try and stay away from it. Honestly, I've discovered that it's not worth it. And the podcast now has gotten the reputation for being a very positive, uplifting podcast. And I'm getting like 8,000 downloads a month. So it's doing well. I'm not going to fuck with a good thing by sitting around talking shit.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, and everybody, like I say, everybody that I disagree with, you know them on an individual basis, and you're like,
dude, for every
way better than you think.
But well, and for every negative thing I might have to say about somebody, they've got just as many negative things to say about me. So why fucking do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm too old and too tired and too broken up to go picking fights. All right, brother, you take care of yourself.
All right, you too, Dean. Good to see you.
See ya.
Peace.
Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast, brought to you as always by, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the Extreme Sports Collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving. Go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. Buy Pure Spectrum CBD. Head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available. Hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Get on the floor, get on the floor,